In the series when you talked about how when you would fly back into London, it was like a trigger, and everyone has triggers. And I'm just wondering how it was for you recently you had to return. Were you able to work through those feelings?
Yeah, it's a good point. I was worried about it. I was afraid about it, but then going through the motions and being able to lean on the toolbox and lean on the learnings that I've grown from over the past, it definitely made it a lot easier. But the heart still pounds. You know, that's a trigger, just like it is for anybody else.
All over the world, people are in some kind of mental, psychological, emotional pain.
What words have you heard around mental health? Crazy?
Lost it, can't keep it together.
As I've learned over the years, you know, so many of us, probably 99.9% of us, are carrying around some form of unresolved grief, trauma, or loss. And that manifests itself unless we are able to do the very human thing, which is processing grief, processing trauma, and processing loss. And part of that is through conversation with friends, with strangers, with therapists, going for a walk, whatever it is. There are so many things that are good for us, and there are things that are bad for us. And I really feel as though we should be focused more on the things that feed our soul. And just as much as that diet of what we put into our bellies, it's the same with the diet that we put into our brains, what we read, what we consume.
I just frozen. In front of us is a human being who's suffering. Treating people with dignity is the first act.
I've been advocating for mental health, or at least trying to break the stigma around mental illness for well over 10 years now, I think, and Oprah's been doing it for, I guess, 2 decades. So I'm slowly catching up, but it seemed like the perfect partnership because of the partnership that she already had with Apple. And for us to be able to say, right, well, if that's in 1 billion pockets on 1 billion screens, then maybe we can really start a global conversation about this. From what I've learned over the years and the many countless conversations that I've had with people of all ages, both in the UK, in the US, and around the world, across the whole of the Commonwealth, one thing that I've learned is that sharing your story in order to be able to save a life or help others is absolutely critical. I see it as a responsibility. I don't find it hard to open up. I feel knowing the impact and the positive reaction that it has for so many people that also suffer. I believe it's a responsibility that rests on our shoulders, especially if we have a platform or if we have any form of influence. That's what this series was really based around.